My shift supervisor refused my request to leave early for a doctor's appointment, saying, "Work comes first, doesn't matter if you're coughing blood." So I coughed directly into his favorite coffee mug and walked out with a smile. By noon, he was wearing a hazmat mask. I work at a distribution center just outside of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, not far from the old rail lines and the endless fields. It's not glamorous work, loading, sorting some paperwork, and dealing with all sorts of broken people in high-visibility vests. I've been here for 6 years. I'm 43, divorced, no kids, just this job, a small duplex, and a 14-year-old dog named Pepper. The only thing that ever made work feel unbearable was Darren, our shift supervisor. Darren's the kind of guy who probably peaked in high school. He played linebacker for Jefferson High and never shut up about it. Even now, with his beer belly, receding hairline, and a chin that seemed to vanish more every month, he still walked around like he was leading a locker room. His go-to phrase was, "Suck it up, champ." He said it to everyone. Your grandma died? Suck it up, champ. You threw your back out lifting a 60-pound crate? Suck it up. It got to the point where hearing those 4 words made my skin crawl. But the thing that pushed me over the edge happened 3 months ago, in late May. I'd been feeling sick for a week. Real sick. The kind of sick where your chest feels heavy, like someone parked a truck on it. At first, I thought it was just a flu bug. But then I started coughing up blood. Not a little streak here or there. I mean full-on thick, red splatters in the sink every morning. I scheduled an emergency doctor's appointment at St. Luke's for noon. I was scheduled to work the 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. shift that day. I figured I could get most of my hours in and leave a couple hours early. I even found someone willing to cover for me after 11 a.m. I approached Darren during our morning meeting. "Hey, boss, I need to leave at 11 today. I've got a doctor's appointment. I've been coughing blood." He didn't even look up from his tablet. And I blinked. "I'm not trying to get out of work. Just need to. Work comes first. Doesn't matter if you're coughing blood," he said, interrupting me. "Don't make your problems my problem. You leave, it's considered voluntary abandonment. You walk out, you don't come back. Suck it up, champ." I stood there in silence, stunned. The whole room was quiet. A few coworkers shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to listen. I could feel the heat rising in my face, the anger building in my chest. I walked away, went back to my station, heart pounding. I wasn't going to quit, but I wasn't going to let him get away with that either. I spent the next 2 hours doing my work while thinking. I had nothing to lose, no family to support, no kids to feed. I was alone, just me and Pepper. And if this sickness was serious, if it was cancer, or something worse, what was the point of letting some washed-up bully humiliate me on my last legs? At 10:45 a.m., Darren took his coffee break, which meant he sat in his tiny office, feet on the desk, sipping from the same disgusting, oversized mug that said #OneBoss on the side. Nobody knew where he got it, but he acted like it was his holy grail. He left it on the break room counter, like he always did, while he went to the bathroom. That was when I walked in. No cameras in the break room. I double-checked. I walked up to his mug, lifted it, took a deep breath, and coughed. A real, hard guttural cough. Twice. Big ones. I made sure something landed in that cup. I felt it leave my throat. Then I placed it back exactly as it was. I walked out of the break room, clocked out, and left the building. As I passed the office window, I looked back and saw Darren pick up his mug and take a long sip. I smiled for the first time in days. By noon, I was sitting in the urgent care clinic, waiting for test results. I didn't know if I had pneumonia or something worse, but honestly, I didn't care at that moment. What happened next wasn't something I planned. Around 2 p.m., I got a call from one of my coworkers, Reggie, who I'd known since day one. He was whispering on the line. "Yo, dude, you won't believe this." "What?" "Darren's losing his damn mind. Somebody told him you coughed in his mug." I stayed quiet. "He's freaking out. Called corporate. Called HR. He's wearing a hazmat mask now. Said he might have been exposed to tuberculosis or God knows what." I held back a laugh. Reggie kept going. He shut down the entire office wing. Said he's filing a complaint. Even called the cops. That part got my attention. "Wait, the cops?" "Yeah." Said it was biological assault. But nobody saw you do anything. Just rumors. And you'd already clocked out. I hung up soon after. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was worried, but because I wanted to know what would happen next. The next day, I got a voicemail from HR of the main office in Des Moines. They wanted to discuss my behavior on the premises and a formal complaint from my supervisor. I didn't call back. I wasn't going to play defense. By now, the rumor had spread through the whole warehouse. I started getting texts from coworkers I barely talked to. One read, "He told the entire morning shift he might have been exposed to an airborne disease," like yelling about it during stretch circle. Another one said, "He sanitized his whole office with bleach wipes and started wearing gloves." It wasn't long before someone snapped a photo of him in a full white hazmat suit, walking around the building like it was a nuclear site. No joke. Someone even printed it and taped it to the locker room wall with a caption, "Suck it up, champ." That photo was the match to the gasoline. By the end of that week, everyone hated Darren. Even the ass-kissers in logistics started laughing behind his back. The warehouse was full of whispers. People brought in fake masks just to mock him. Someone started coughing every time he passed by. I didn't show up again. I used my sick days and then just stopped going. A week later, Reggie texted me, "Bro, the guy filed for medical leave. Said he had anxiety from exposure." I was stunned. Darren, the same guy who told people to work through broken bones and deaths in the family, was now on leave because someone coughed in his mug? Poetic. But it wasn't over. Not yet. 2 weeks later, a Cedar Rapids police officer knocked on my door. He handed me a formal letter. It was from corporate legal. Cease and desist from defaming a company supervisor and participating in biologically unsafe conduct on company property. I asked the officer, "So am I being charged with anything?" He shook his head. "Nah, just a scare tactic. Nothing criminal here unless you admitted to something. But maybe get a lawyer." That was the moment it clicked. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to hide. I was going to fight back. I scheduled a meeting with a lawyer downtown. His name was Mark Hallbrook, a no-nonsense labor attorney in his early 50s who dealt with the company before. He had handled whistleblower cases and wrongful termination suits. I told him everything straight up, how I was sick, how I asked to leave, how Darren denied it, what I did, and why. I thought he'd laugh, but he didn't. He leaned back and nodded slowly. He didn't break any laws. Gross? Sure. But illegal? No. And denying medical accommodation. That's where it gets interesting. Mark helped me draft a formal complaint against the company for denial of medical accommodation, hostile work environment, and retaliation. We filed it with the Iowa Civil Rights Commission. I attached screenshots of the texts, a doctor's note about my condition, and copies of the workplace policy about sick leave. Within 2 weeks, I got a call. HR wanted to discuss a mutual resolution, but I didn't want a settlement. I wanted Darren's name on paper. Meanwhile, the warehouse had turned into a circus. I wasn't there, but I heard everything through Reggie and a few others. Darren tried to come back on light duty, but nobody respected him anymore. Someone replaced the tag on his locker with a sticker that read, "Hazmat Hank." And it stuck. Even the junior managers avoided him. His paranoia got worse. He started recording conversations, kept accusing people of whispering about him. At one point, he even tried to force random drug tests on his team. Corporate had to step in. And then something beautiful happened. One of the newer hires, a 19-year-old named Kyle, overheard Darren talking about how he planned to ruin my life with legal trouble. He recorded the whole thing on his phone. That recording made its way to my lawyer. It was the smoking gun. We submitted it to the commission with a note saying, "Here's your hashtag, one boss planning retaliation against a sick employee." That changed everything. 2 months after it all started, I got the notice. The company was launching an internal investigation. 3 weeks after that, Darren was suspended. Reggie called me that night and said he showed up today and they told him to hand over his badge. Everyone clapped. The story still wasn't public, but word spread fast in town. Cedar Rapids isn't that big. Darren's name was getting dragged through every corner of Facebook and the local diner gossip chain. Meanwhile, I was still technically out on leave, but I wasn't done. With Darren suspended and my complaint under investigation, I should have felt satisfied, but I didn't. I felt this gnawing inside me, like everything was half done. This wasn't just about me anymore. I'd watched that man humiliate coworkers for years. I'd seen a guy named Miguel get fired after working 12 days straight just because he missed one mandatory meeting. I saw Tracy, a single mom, get written up for clocking in 2 minutes late after her car broke down. Darren made sure every write-up stuck. Every warning counted. He enjoyed watching people squirm. And now he was sitting at home? Paid leave? That was justice? Hell no. I started digging. I made a few calls, reached out to people who'd quit or been fired in the past year. I went back through Facebook, found old coworkers, and started asking questions. That's when Terry called me. He used to run logistics, real smart guy, used to be a manager under Darren before he quit suddenly. You know why I left, he said. Because Darren was cooking the books. What do you mean? I mean he was altering inventory reports to get bonuses, making it look like we moved more product than we did. And anyone who questioned him got written up or pushed out. My chest tightened. Can you prove it? Terry laughed. I can do better. I've got spreadsheets, emails. He forwarded half his crap to me by accident back in March. And just like that, the game changed. I forwarded everything to Mark, my lawyer. We weren't just talking about retaliation anymore. We were talking fraud. Mark filed a new complaint, this time to the Iowa Division of Labor and Corporate Compliance. A separate investigation launched. I didn't hear much for a few weeks, but I stayed in touch with Reggie and Terry. The best part? I wasn't the only one stepping up anymore. Tracy came forward with her write-up history. Miguel had saved emails from HR. Even Kyle submitted an affidavit about Darren's behavior. It was like a damn revolt. And then 2 months later, I got the call. You're being offered a settlement, Mark said. They want you to sign an NDA, accept a severance, and agree not to pursue legal action. I asked him what they were offering. He told me the number. It was 6 figures. I felt my throat close. I'd never seen that much money in one place before. Hell, I'd been behind on rent 2 months earlier. I could pay off every debt, fix my old truck, maybe even move out of this dump. But I said no, not until Darren was officially fired and blacklisted. Mark said, that's going to be harder. They don't want to admit wrongdoing. Then I'll wait, I said. I'm not signing anything until his name is off that payroll. A week later, Darren resigned for personal health reasons. But that wasn't enough for me. I still had Terry's documents. I still had Kyle's recording. And I still had everyone's statements. So I leaked it. I sent a USB drive with all the files to a local reporter named Candace Bloom. She runs an independent blog called Cornfield Whistle that exposes workplace abuse in Iowa. She loved the story. She ran it within 48 hours. The headline? Hazmat Hank. A local supervisor coughs up more than germs in workplace retaliation scandal. The article exploded on Facebook. The comment section was full of people who knew Darren or had worked under him at his last job in Burlington, where apparently he got let go quietly. The backlash was brutal. He tried defending himself in a now-deleted Facebook post, claimed he was the victim of a coordinated takedown by lazy workers. People dragged him for it. Screenshots spread fast. His wife, Cheryl, ended up deactivating her profile. A week later, their house went up for sale. Darren was done, but I still hadn't taken a settlement. Not yet. Then, something unexpected happened. I got a call from a woman named Leah, HR director from the corporate office. She didn't sound angry. She sounded tired. We want to make this right, she said. And we're not just talking about money. I listened. She offered me the same financial package. But this time, she added something more. They wanted me to help them design a new workplace safety and ethics training program. Paid position. Full benefits. Remote if I wanted. No Darren. No warehouse. I was stunned. You want me to help train your supervisors? She said yes. I told her I'd think about it. Then I hung up, and I smiled. I took the job. Not right away. I sat with it for a few days, talked it over with Mark, thought about what it meant me, the guy who coughed into a mug, now leading ethics training. It felt like a sick joke at first, but the more I thought about it, the more it felt fair, not just to me, but to the others Darren had crushed. If I could help build something that prevented the next Hazmat Hank from stomping through another warehouse unchecked, then maybe all of this meant something. I signed the contract a week later. They let me work remotely. I set up a little home office next to Pepper's bed. I helped build real training materials. about recognizing toxic supervisors, understanding employee rights, how to document harassment, and when to speak up. People I hadn't heard from in years started reaching out. Old coworkers from other places. Some said thank you. Some just said, I heard what you did. I felt proud again. But that wasn't the end of the story. About 3 months into the new job, I got an email from a fake address. Unknown sender 2025@protonmail.com. No subject, just an attachment. It was a PDF of divorce filings. Darren's name at the top, filed by Cheryl Madison, his wife. I scrolled through it. Grounds, mental cruelty, paranoia, and erratic behavior related to workplace consequences and reputation damage. Then another email came. This one with a single line of text. He snapped, punched a hole in the wall in front of their daughter. I sat there staring at the screen. I didn't know who sent it. Still don't. But I believed it. I found out later through local court records that Darren had a restraining order filed against him. Apparently, he tried showing up at Cheryl's workplace a few times, yelling about conspiracies, saying he was being targeted by warehouse trash. His daughter, Maya, 17, apparently moved in with her aunt in Dubuque. Another record showed Darren was involuntarily committed to a mental health facility for evaluation after he was caught walking through his neighborhood in a hazmat suit, yelling at birds. It was like watching a dam collapse in slow motion, and I didn't feel sorry for him, not for 1 second. The blog story took on a life of its own. A month after it dropped, Candace was interviewed on a local AM radio show. She talked about small-town power structures and how people like Darren thrive because nobody speaks up. A week after that, the story made it onto Reddit. Someone posted it to r/antiwork, complete with screenshots of Hazmat Hank in his plastic suit. The top comment read, "Imagine being so toxic you cough karma into your own mug." I don't think Darren even knew how far the story spread, but it didn't matter. He was done. His reputation? Shredded. His job? His marriage? Over. His daughter? Won't talk to him. The last I heard, he moved in with his older brother in Keokuk, where he spends his days trying to sue the blog for defamation, even though everything printed was backed by evidence. Meanwhile, I'm here, alive, still coughing a little. Turns out it was severe bronchitis, not cancer or TB. Could have gotten worse if I'd stayed and sucked it up, like he said. My life now isn't perfect, but I've got peace. I get up every day, feed Pepper, work from home, and help new hires learn how to protect themselves from people like Darren. And sometimes when I sip my coffee from my own mug, just a plain blue one, I remember how this all started. A cough, a mug, and a man who thought power meant immunity. He learned the hard way. Work doesn't come first. People do.